Morning, and great to be here with all of you to just share some of my thoughts on innovation, but more importantly, share some examples that I have lived through on innovation and the partnership with retail in trying to make these big, and most importantly, trying to make these a win-win. Now, my intent is not to come here to talk about PepsiCo, but as I give examples, I will naturally talk about my company's examples because that's what I know best, that's what I've lived through, that's what I've worked through. And of course, what you'll see here is some examples of successes. Let me tell you, there are fairly equally or even a larger number of failures. And that, to go back to Harsh's point, what innovation is all about. So while you'll hear some nice successful stories today, maybe sometime else we can share the stories about the ones that didn't work. But, sorry. As I was just reading up a little bit for this discussion, I just saw such a strong correlation between high-growth companies and successful innovators. And I'm sure you see that every day in everything that you do. But when you look at the correlation, you realize how strong it is, and therefore the importance of innovation for growth. I mean, I just picked up a few examples. I could pick up a lot more. Mariko's got some great stories, but I knew Harsh would be talking about it, so I didn't talk about those. But what I picked up, look at automobiles. Look at what Mahindra's has done over the last few years, just in terms of the way they've taken on the utility vehicle market. Now, you'd look at a company like that and say, they launched Scorpio some 5-7 years ago. That was so successful, they could have just ridden that success. But no, they moved on, innovating to newer and newer consumer need states. And a similar story on tractors. Not surprisingly, great growth in this sector. I just looked at Godrej and saw the kind of innovation they've done on soaps, on hair color, on oils. Again, continue to innovate and add on. And then I just looked at some of our own innovations and realized what an important part in our growth our innovations have made by growing our portfolio to cover not just indulgence products and fun-for-you products for our consumers in both food and beverages, but equally just getting into new need states, getting into nutrition, getting into better-for-you products, and just offering a range of consumer choices, which has today given us a huge, broad-based portfolio. So this was just some examples, but you can just go on with this list and find high growth and successful innovation. There's just a perfect correlation time and time again. Now, Harsh has talked about some of the dynamics, but I think this is very, very important to us when we really talk about innovation. I mean, it all starts with the consumer. We can have the best ideas, we can have the best R&D, we can have the best scientific facilities, but it all starts with the consumer, and a consumer that has to be receptive to innovation. And I can't think of a better place to be than India for that. We've got a young population, we've seen that. I think the important one is fast-changing lifestyles. And with the sustained high single-digit GDP growth, growing prosperity. Now, that's a great combination. But you can have that, but still have a tentative consumer. But the great part in India is we don't. We've got a confident consumer. Consumer optimism is very high. Nielsen conducts this consumer optimism survey quarter after quarter across some 80 or 90 countries. And if I remember correctly, 8 out of the last 9 quarters, India's come out number 1, and the 1 quarter we missed out, we were number 2. So you've got a consumer that despite everything they read in the papers, despite what they hear about the economic slowdown, he or she are very, very optimistic about the future. And that optimism is translating to spends today. Not just spends of today against income of today, but spends today against income of tomorrow. And there's belief in the country. There may not be that same belief in the way the country is run, but there is belief in the country. So it's a really perfect cocktail for innovation to succeed in this market. And this is a market that's really ready for it. Coming closer home to really organized retail. Now, we all know 2/3 of India is under 35 years of age. But this is the age group, these are the demographics of people who really visit organized retail, who patronize organized retail, be it the malls, be it the cineplexes, be it the quick service restaurants, or be it just modern trade. And this is the same group of people who are looking for experiences. who are looking for something new, who have low brand loyalty. Experience always trumps brand loyalty for this group of consumers. So that's almost a perfect recipe for innovation to succeed if you get it right.